In the early morning of March 26, 2024, the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed after being struck by a container ship. 6 people working on the bridge that night died. Salvage operations took weeks. Members of the Dolly, the ship that hit the bridge, are still in Maryland a year later for the investigation. And a new bridge won't be completed until 2028. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra joins me now live from our D.C. newsroom. Patrick, you've obviously been following this for the past year. Can you tell us now, nearly a year later, what exactly happened?
Well, it's pretty amazing to think that it has been 1 year, and as we take a look at bridges all over the country, their condition isn't getting better, it's getting worse.
Let's take a test run on this bridge right now.
When the Key Bridge opened in 1977, ships like these sailing below were a lot smaller. As the decades passed, cargo vessels grew to become the mega ships of today. The Key Bridge stayed the same, never retrofitted with bumpers or other systems designed to absorb major impact. We saw the result.
Dispatch, the whole bridge just fell down.
It was the latest disaster to spotlight the danger of outdated bridges. And there are many, more than 42,000 bridges in the U.S. classified in poor condition. Our continuing investigations found some so old, they're crumbling away. When you just sort of touch the bottom of this bridge, it just comes apart in your hands. After the Key Bridge fell, we obtained Coast Guard records that revealed the ship collision in Baltimore was all too common. Vessels frequently hit supports of bridges all over the country, hard enough to require emergency inspections. Surveillance video shows a barge drifting out of control, slamming into an interstate highway bridge over the Mississippi River. Drivers on the bridge have no idea. We documented at least 650 ship collisions with bridges since 2019. Yet a year after the collapse that killed 6, America's bridges are getting worse, not better.
I think in Maryland, it raised a much stronger conversation because, you know, it was them dealing with it. I don't think that has translated to any other state of the union. We've changed nothing.
The number of bridges listed as fair or poor, due for repair or replacement, actually went up last year, according to U.S. Bureau of Transportation statistics we compiled.
Possibly more people underneath the bridge.
That's despite multiple bridge failures and a burst of infrastructure spending during the Biden years. Federal bridge funding has always been tight, but since President Trump resumed office, money for roads has become even harder to shake loose as part of Trump's push to cut government spending. On March 11th, the Transportation Department announced it's pausing grants for projects that have not been fully greenlit until they can ensure they comply with Trump's executive orders, including those against diversity programs.
Across the board, we're hearing stories about people being told to pump the brakes. We're going to do a review of your project and determine if we agree that it should be allowed to move forward.
Scripps News has learned bridge projects that will be put on hold by the freeze in funding include a replacement for the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge in Wilmington, North Carolina, nearing the end of its lifespan. The U.S. Transportation Department did not answer our question about how long the funds will remain frozen, saying in a statement, "The American people are eager to see fewer of their tax dollars subsidizing a woke DEI ideology, radical Green New Deal projects, or other wasteful programs. Grants focused on relieving congestion and bolstering safety are and will be the priority for President Trump and Secretary Sean Duffy." If what happened in Baltimore was another wake-up call, the nation still hasn't awakened to the scope of bridges in need. Just last week, the National Transportation Safety Board released a list of 68 other bridges that the board says should be evaluated for similar risk of getting hit by a ship. And it includes some big names, Andrew: Brooklyn Bridge in New York and Golden Gate Bridge in California. Andrew.
Rick, we know that it's still going to be a couple of years before the new bridge reopens. Any update on how that project is going?
Yeah, you know, they just released designs for the new bridge last month. It is a modern suspension bridge, and notably, it now has huge bumpers at the supports to try to keep the bridge standing if it gets hit again by one of those massive cargo ships. But something to note here is the price, almost $2 billion to replace that bridge, all paid for by Uncle Sam. Congress agreeing to pay for that bridge, but it is an indication of just how expensive and how long it takes to replace a bridge in need. And again, we're talking about over 40,000 bridges listed in poor condition all over the country. Andrew.
All right, Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra for us. Patrick, thank you for that update. And be sure to join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern for a special Scripps News Reports, the Key Bridge collapse, remembering and rebuilding.